Hi, very good evening. Today we discuss about introduction of stem cells. What is stem cells? Stem cells have an ability to develop into many different cell types in our body. Example, serving as a sort of repair system for the body, they can theoretically divide without limit to replenish other cells as long as the person or animal is alive. When a stem cell divides, each cell has the potential to either remain a stem cell or become another type of cell with a more specialized function. Looking into the picture, you can see a stem cell which will undergo division. Either it remain as a stem cell or it produce a specialized cell or a functional cell, what we call as differentiation. You can see example like muscle cell, nerve cells, bone cells, any immune cells, any blood cells. Basically, we can understand in a better way if we see or if we know properties of stem cells. All stem cells, regardless of their sources, whether it is derived from embryo or whether it is derived from adult organs which have a common property, the first and foremost is capable of dividing and renewing themselves for long periods. Second property, unspecialized in nature. Third one, they can give rise to special cell types. Moving on to the first property, capable of dividing and renewing themselves for prolonged period. A starting population of a stem cell that proliferates for many months in the laboratory can yield millions of cells. Followed, if the resulting cell continue to be unspecialized, meaning which remain potency to divide any cells. Like the parent cells, the cells are said to be capable of long-term self-renewal. Generally, normal cell undergoes 50 to 70 cell divisions. Where it loses self-renewal property, it cannot divide further. But stem cells divides indefinitely by expressing high telomerase enzyme activity. So, this telomerase is a signature of any dividing cell population, especially this telomerase expressed more in stem cells, maybe adult stem cell, maybe embryonic stem cell. So, in both the category, this telomerase enzyme will express more when compared to normal cell population. Looking into the diagram, we can see a self-renewal property. A stem cell undergo division which produces two daughter cell, which is also a stem cell. Again it divide, which we call a self-renewal. Again it will produce two cells. Again it will divide. Again it produce two cells. Likewise, it will go like exponential division until or even indefinite times, indefinite number of cell population get produced. Next point is they are unspecialized in nature. So the first one is having ability to produce or divide continuously. The second one is which is unspecialized in nature. They do not display any specific structure associated with carrying out any specific function in the body. So this is a common property for human being as well as in animals. For example, a stem cell cannot work with its neighbor or a neighboring cell to pump blood through the body. For example, like what heart cells does in our heart organ, which cannot carry oxygen molecule through the bloodstream, like how our red blood does this function. The third one, the unspecialized stem cells can give rise to any specialized cells, including liver cells, bone cells, immune cells, nerve cells, skin cells, etc. Looking into this picture, a fertilized egg from which we isolate a blastocyst, which we call it as inner cell mass present in this particular source. The moment you harvest or isolate, you can see the inner cell mass structure having a pluripotent in nature. So this is have no function. We claim this group of cell isolated or harvested from this blastocyst stage embryo have this unspecialized cells. We call it as otherwise pluripotent stem cells, having an ability to divide any cells. The third point is they have ability to give any specialized cell types. When an unspecialized stem cells give rise to a specialized cells, the process is called differentiation. The internal signals, for example, hormones, transcription factors, are controlled by genes, which is present in the DNA. In turn, DNA present in the chromosome. So, which gives instruction to the cell to divide or to remain halt in a stem cell category. External signals for cell differentiation includes like chemicals secreted by other cells or neighboring cells, physical contact with neighboring cells, and certain molecules in the microenvironment. You can see the picture where how things are moving out to make a special cells. A morula, what we call the initial cell in the embryo, that divide till 5th day, where you harvest pluripotent stem cells. That pluripotent stem cells have a ability to bring or give any cell types that you want, like muscle cells, blood cells, neurons, intestinal cells, islets of cells, liver cells. So this is the property of stem cells, have an ability to produce any cells that we want for our body to function. Even we relate with the potency of stem cells, meaning an ability of cell to divide into two cells or into many cells or with only one cell, that we see in detail what is totipotent. So totipotent cells have an ability to divide any cells in our body. Even these cells can produce an organism. These are produced from fusion of egg and sperm cell. The only totipotent cells are the fertilized egg, and the cells produced by the first few division of the fertilized eggs are called totipotent. Totipotent stem cells give rise to somatic stem, progenitor cells, and primitive germline stem cells. I will show you the diagram or the picture which comes under totipotent category. So this is the example, or this is the one we claim totipotent in nature, morula. Soon after fusion of male and female gamete, we get zygote. So that zygote is totipotent in nature. So till what stage we call it zygote? Till early morula we call it totipotent in nature. Beyond morula stage we call it in different name. That is our next type, pluripotent in nature. Why we call pluripotent? That I give a reason So what is pluripotent stem cells? Are having an ability to divide any cells but not many cells. So there is a barrier. This pluripotent stem cells cannot produce placenta cells. Therefore, this pluripotent have restriction. This cannot produce cells like that of the previously explained totipotent cells. So these cells are descendant of totipotent. It can differentiate to nearly all cells derived from any of the three germ layers like ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. These pluripotent stem cells are characterized by self-renewal and differentiation potential for cell types of adult organism. These are true stem cells with potential to make any differentiated cells in the body. So we call it as embryonic stem cells. You can see the picture from the pluripotent stem cells where you can get a mesoderm derived cells, ectoderm derived cells and ectoderm derived cells. The third one is pluripotent in nature, multipotent in nature. So the prefix shows multi, many cells. Stem cells can differentiate into a number of cells but only those of closely related family. Suppose if you take bone cells, bone derived stem cells or bone marrow derived stem cells which will produce only related to that germ layer, for example muscle cell, adipocytes, bone cell, chondrocytes and blood cells. So all these are derivative of bone marrow derived or mesoderm derived cells. These are true stem cell but can only differentiate to a limited number of terms, not like that of embryonic derived. For example, bone marrow contains multipotent stem cell that give rise to all cells of blood. Likewise, adipose tissue is another source of multipotent stem cells. So you can see the diagram. Mesenchymal stem cell is also another multipotent in nature, which is have an ability to produce multiple cells like myocytes, fibroblasts, astrocytes, stromal cells, adipocytes, fibroblasts, osteocytes and chondrocytes. So MSC is also another example of multipotent in nature. Oligopotent. So this is again a subdivision of multipotent in nature, where this group of cell will get more of related to like a closely related cells. Example, hematopoietic stem cells can produce only blood related cells. Therefore, we call it as oligopotent in nature. For example, hematopoietic stem cell which is isolated from bone marrow, which produce only myeloid cells and lymphoid cells. So where you get only blood cells and immune cells, not like muscle cell, bone cells. So that is why we call it oligopotent in nature. So the last one is unipotent in nature, meaning a cell divide to another daughter cell which is also a same cell, which will not produce another different cell. A cell, for example, muscle cell. So this muscle cell, if you induce with patterning factor, this will produce another muscle cell. Hence we call it unipotent in nature. If any cell have an ability to produce another cell, then we will call it as pluripotent or totipotent or multipotent. But this group of cell, unipotent in nature, where it will divide and a same cell. So the same cell will divide or proliferate not to another cell or another different cell. So you can see a muscle cell, stem cells undergo like proliferation, where the patterning factor associated to induce the stem cell to become differentiated myofibrillar cell or muscle, skeletal muscle fiber. Thank you for watching. We'll see in the next video.